The truth above the canopy. The morning sun broke through the tall pines as Dr. Marcus Jefferson stepped out of his weathered blue Jeep. He adjusted his backpack filled with research equipment and breathed in the crisp mountain air of Pinewood National Park. His research on forest canopy ecosystems had taken him to parks across the country, but this location housed a rare species of moss he'd been eager to document for months. "Sir! You there? This area is restricted," called a sharp voice. Marcus turned to see two park rangers approaching. Their badges read Bolton and Mercer. "Good morning, officers. I'm Dr. Marcus Jefferson. I have permits for research collection today," Marcus said with a practiced smile, reaching for his credentials. Ranger Bolton's eyes narrowed. "We weren't notified of any research happening today." "That's strange. My paperwork was approved weeks ago," Marcus replied. "Lot of vandalism lately," Ranger Mercer muttered, looking Marcus up and down. "These trailheads keep getting damaged by, outsiders." Marcus noticed how Mercer's hand rested near his holster. The tension in the air was palpable. He'd heard about incidents in this county but hadn't expected to face it so immediately. "My credentials and permits are right here," Marcus offered again. "We'll see about that," Bolton replied coldly. "In the meantime, stay where we can see you." 3 hours into his research, Marcus carefully extracted a moss sample from a fallen log. He photographed each specimen meticulously before storing it in a sealed container. The scientific part of his brain remained focused, though he couldn't ignore the rangers who had followed him throughout the morning, watching his every move from 30 yards away. "Hey! What are you removing from the park?" Bolton shouted, suddenly closing the distance between them. "Just moss samples, as outlined in my research permit," Marcus explained calmly. "I'm studying the relationship between canopy density and undergrowth biodiversity." Ranger Mercer grabbed one of Marcus's sample containers. "Looks like you're harvesting park resources to me. That's a federal offense." "No, sir. These are documented samples. If you just look at we've had reports of someone matching your description vandalizing trail markers," Bolton interrupted. "Empty your backpack." Marcus felt his heart pound against his ribs. "That's ridiculous. I've been here collecting samples all morning, which you've been watching me do. Are you refusing to comply with park rangers?" Mercer stepped closer, his breath visible in the cool air. "I'm refusing to be harassed for doing my job," Marcus replied firmly. "Call the head office. They have my credentials on file." Bolton grabbed Marcus's arm. "That's it. You're under arrest for trespassing in a restricted area and removal of protected park materials." "This is absurd," Marcus protested as Mercer roughly cuffed his hands behind his back. "I have authorization." "Tell it to the chief," Bolton smirked, confiscating Marcus's research equipment. "Maybe next time you'll think twice before coming to our park." The ranger station door swung open as Bolton marched Marcus inside, still handcuffed and fuming. "Chief Powell, caught this guy stealing specimens from the North Trail," Bolton announced proudly. "Refused to cooperate." Chief Ranger Diana Powell looked up from her desk, her eyes widening as she recognized the man in handcuffs. "Dr. Jefferson?" "Marcus Jefferson from the National Science Foundation," she asked, immediately standing. Marcus nodded tersely. "I've been trying to explain I have permits for my research." Chief Powell turned to Bolton and Mercer, her face flushing with anger. "Remove those cuffs immediately. Dr. Jefferson is leading the Department of Interior's Climate Change Impact Study. His work here was approved by the regional director himself." Bolton froze. "But he was taking things from the park and he has every right to collect those specimens," Powell interrupted sharply. She grabbed a folder from her desk. "His authorization has been on file for weeks. Didn't you check the daily briefing?" Mercer uncuffed Marcus, suddenly finding the floor fascinating. "We thought he looked suspicious." "Suspicious?" Powell repeated. "You mean you profiled a renowned scientist with more credentials than everyone in this station combined?" Bolton crossed his arms defensively. How were we supposed to know who he was? He didn't look like what, Ranger Bolton? Powell challenged, her voice dangerously quiet. The uncomfortable silence that followed said everything. Chief Powell handed Marcus a cup of coffee in her office, genuine remorse in her eyes. Dr. Jefferson, I cannot apologize enough for how you were treated today. It's inexcusable. Marcus massaged his wrists where the handcuffs had been. This isn't about apologies, Chief Powell. This is about a pattern. Your Rangers didn't even look at my credentials. I know, she admitted. And sadly, it's not the first incident we've had. Last month, a black family was questioned repeatedly about their campsite reservation while others walked right in. 3 complaints have been filed this year alone. Marcus set his cup down. I should press charges. Make this public. You have every right to, Powell nodded. The community's been divided since the new highway brought more diverse visitors to the park. Some of the old guard haven't adjusted well. Outside the office window, Marcus could see Bolton and Mercer in heated discussion with another ranger. This park has a history, Powell continued. 20 years ago, the previous administration was investigated for discriminatory hiring practices. We've made progress, but clearly not enough. Progress isn't progress if it only exists on paper, Marcus replied. How many rangers of color do you have on staff? Powell's silence was telling. The history of these parks is complicated, Marcus said. They were created as sanctuaries for nature, yet for decades, many people who look like me didn't feel welcome in them. That legacy doesn't disappear without real work. What would you suggest? Powell asked. Beyond the obvious disciplinary actions. Marcus studied the map of Pinewood on her wall, thinking of the beauty he'd seen that morning, and how quickly it had been tainted. I have some ideas, he finally said. But first, I want to speak with your entire staff. I could file a lawsuit, Marcus addressed the assembled rangers and park staff. But what would that accomplish besides headlines and division? Instead, I'm proposing something more meaningful. 2 weeks after the incident, the community center near Pinewood National Park was packed with park staff, local leaders, and residents. Bolton and Mercer sat uncomfortably in the front row. Dr. Jefferson is offering us an opportunity, Chief Powell explained. A comprehensive training program on cultural awareness and anti-discrimination practices, plus policy reforms to ensure accountability. Marcus stepped forward. This park belongs to everyone. Its wonders should be accessible to all without fear of harassment. I'm volunteering my time to help develop new protocols and community engagement initiatives. Mayor Wilson stood up. The town council unanimously supports this program. Too long we've ignored these issues, pretending they don't exist in our community. Change requires honesty, Marcus continued. And courage to acknowledge when systems have failed. My experience wasn't unique, but together, we can ensure it becomes increasingly rare. The plan was approved: mandatory training for all staff, community listening sessions, revised complaint procedures with civilian oversight, and recruitment efforts to diversify the ranger program. Not everyone embraced the changes. 3 rangers resigned in protest. But many, including Bolton, stayed. Why didn't you quit? Marcus asked him after a particularly challenging training session. Bolton looked surprised by the question. Because I was wrong, he admitted. And running away won't fix that. 6 months later, Marcus returned to Pinewood, his research team now expanded to include local university students. As he parked his Jeep, he noticed the Welcome Center had been renovated, featuring multilingual signage and cultural histories of the region. Dr. Jefferson, called a familiar voice, Chief Powell approached, accompanied by 5 new ranger trainees, a diverse group including 2 black candidates. Our first expanded training class, Powell said proudly. They're especially interested in your ecosystem preservation work. Marcus smiled, noticing Bolton among the instructors, looking different somehow, more at ease, more open. We saved that northern trail for your team, Powell continued. And implemented those accessibility modifications you suggested. As Marcus led the group toward the trailhead, one of the trainees asked about his research methodology. He explained enthusiastically, watching understanding bloom on their faces. The forest canopy rustled above them, sunlight breaking through in dappled patterns. Marcus paused to look up at the towering pines. The most important ecosystems, he told the trainees, are the ones where every element is valued for what it contributes. Diversity isn't just about appearances, it's about survival and thriving together. A blue jay called overhead as they continued down the trail, their footsteps blending into the rhythm of the living forest, different paces finding harmony in their shared purpose.